Hi everyone and welcome back to Laties Lessons. I'm Mr. Lategan and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we breathe. So this is obviously going to be about grade 9 natural science, but if you're in grade 8 or you're taking biology Cambridge, listen up, this might come in handy as well. So how do we breathe? The first question we should ask is, why do we breathe? Every second of every day, our bodies need oxygen to survive. Without it, our cells can't release the energy they need for growth, for repair, and for movement. Breathing also helps remove a waste product called carbon dioxide, CO2, a gas produced when cells release energy. Now, we have to take it back to the beginning when we learned about cells and the different types of cells, and we need to look at the organelles inside of the cells. So in animal cells, there's something called the mitochondria, and the mitochondria needs oxygen. In order for us to get it to the cells, we need to get it in from the air around us, and that process is obviously called breathing. We breathe in either through our mouth or through our nose. That goes in to our lungs, and on a microscopic level, the alveoli, the tiny little air sacs inside of our lungs, have got tiny little capillaries all around them. I'll get to that now. But there, something amazing happens, and air diffuses into our bloodstream. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's move on. So the purpose of the respiratory system allows oxygen to enter our blood and reach every cell. At the same time, carbon dioxide, our waste gas, leaves the body when we exhale. So oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. Now, think about it. Every cell in your body needs to get oxygen in. It's amazing. Even on your pinky toe, the little tissue cells there, the blood cells, everything there needs that oxygen. And as soon as that oxygen gets into the cell, goes to the mitochondria and gives it some energy, there's a byproduct, carbon dioxide. And that slowly but surely gets released out. So, main function, gas exchange, taking in of oxygen or O2, and releasing of CO2. Now, do you see that CO2 is actually just carbon hitching a ride out with oxygen again? Makes you think, right? So the main organs of the respiratory system, let's just have a look at this fantastic diagram here. Here you can see, here's our nasal cavity, the nostrils right over here. Here's our oral cavity, that's where your mouth is situated. And then right in the back of your throat, that there is called the pharynx, and it goes down. As the air passes down, it goes past the larynx, that's where your vocal box is also situated, and then it goes down the trachea. Do you see all of these round rings there? Those are cartilage rings allowing the trachea to be open, so the airway is always open. Then, let me just go back. Then it splits up into your right main bronchus and the left main bronchus, but in essence, the bronchus. Then it goes towards your lungs, and it splits up even more from the bronchus to the bronchioli, and then eventually to the alveoli. So let's look at the main parts of the respiratory system. Air enters through the nostrils and moves down the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea. It then travels into the bronchi, which leads right and left lungs, and eventually into your alveoli. So let's just quickly ask ourselves again, what are the two main organs in the respiratory system? So obviously our lungs, but how is it going to get transported once it's in our lungs? The heart. Okay, hope you guys understand. You have two main organs in the respiratory system. Let's take it back. Smallest thing that we have, cell, then we have tissue, then we have organ, then we have organ systems, and then we have a complete being. Hope that makes sense. Let's move on. Now let's go a little bit inside of the lungs. Inside of the lung, the bronchi divides into smaller tubes called your bronchioles. At the ends of these are tiny air sacs known as alveoli. This is where the actual gas exchange takes place. You can see there, the red indicates oxygenated rich blood, and then obviously the blue indicates oxygenated poor or carbon dioxide rich blood. Right, you can see capillaries basically just refers to the smallest type of vein that occurs in the human body. Fun fact, the capillary that is the most visible to you to see is in the eye. Now, gas exchange, a little bit in detail. Now, grade 9s, don't stress. You do not need to know all of this in detail, but it's just for interest's sake. IGCSE Cambridge Bio kids, listen up. This one's for you. So each alveolus is surrounded by tiny blood vessels called capillaries. Oxygen passes through the thin alveolar walls into the blood, while carbon dioxide moves out of the blood to be exhaled. This exchange happens continuously to keep our blood rich in oxygen. So you can see here, as your bronchiole splits up into alveoli, you can see you've got an alveolar sac. Then there's some ducts and alveolar pores. Look at all of these capillaries surrounding our alveoli sacs. Isn't that just amazing? So, the mechanics of breathing. Breathing happens because of two sets of muscles. First of all, the diaphragm. You can see here, that's the diaphragm right over there. And the intercostal or your rib muscles. In between each rib, you have muscles right over there. When we inhale, the diaphragm contracts and moves down, while the ribs move up and out. This increases the space in the chest, pulling air into the lungs. When we exhale, it's literally the opposite. The diaphragm relaxes and moves up, pushing the air out. Isn't that fantastic? There's a little bit of a diagram for you guys to understand it slightly better. But guys, I'm not going to drag this video out too much. Quick recap. We breathe to get oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. That's the main goal why we breathe. Then the lungs are the main organs. The second organ that we need to pay attention to is the circulatory system's main organ, the heart. So respiratory and circulatory systems, they gel together to make everything happen. Then gas exchange occurs in the alveoli. Remember that one. Last one, the diaphragm and the rib muscles control breathing. Have a look at them again. Go and see if you can practice breathing in and out and thinking, what are the mechanics actually happening inside of my own body? Diaphragm, is it releasing? Is it contracting? Diaphragm, is it releasing or contracting? Intercostal or rib muscles, is it releasing or contracting? Is it releasing or contracting? It's super, super easy. When you're sitting in an exam and you're thinking how and when and what is happening, just take a finger, put it on and in between the ribs on that muscle and go. You can feel it stretch, right? And then you can feel it relax. So it's as easy as that to figure it out in an exam venue. The respiratory system, guys, works non-stop to keep us alive, supplying oxygen, removing carbon dioxide, and helping every little cell do its job that it was designed for. Now, thanks for watching. If you learned something new today, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Laties Lessons for more natural science videos. Breathe easy and keep learning. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.